Kang Ti-ho pushed the heavy cargo box onto the loading platform and wiped the sweat from his forehead. His back hurt. His arms were tired. But he still had 3 more hours of work before his shift ended. The lower cargo decks of Orbital Station Helix 9 were always busy. Ships came and went every hour. Boxes needed to be moved. Containers needed to be checked. And someone had to do the hard work. That someone was usually Ti-ho. He was 32 years old. He had been working on this station for 5 years now. In all that time, he had learned one simple truth about the galaxy. Humans did not matter. The Galactic Union had hundreds of different alien species. Some had scales, some had 4 arms, some could live for 1,000 years, and then there were humans, soft skin, short lives, no special powers. Most aliens looked at humans the way humans might look at ants, small, weak, not worth their time. Ti-ho had accepted this long ago. He did not complain. He did his work. He ate his meals alone. He sent most of his money back to Earth where his sick mother lived. That was his life. Simple and quiet. When his shift finally ended, Ti-ho walked to the observation deck on level 7. It was a small area with large windows that showed the stars outside. Most aliens did not come here. They had seen enough stars in their long lives. But for Ti-ho, it never got old. He liked to sit on the metal bench and just watch. Tonight something was different. He felt eyes on him. Ti-ho turned his head slowly and saw a small figure hiding behind a metal pillar. It was a child, a Sithrani child. The Sithrani were one of the older species in the galaxy. They were tall and thin with silver-blue skin that seemed to glow softly. They had 4 arms instead of 2. Their eyes were large and dark like pools of ink. They were known for being proud and intelligent. They did not mix with lower species. But this child was staring at him with pure curiosity. Ti-ho pretended not to notice. He looked back at the stars. A few minutes passed. Then he heard soft footsteps. The child was coming closer. "You are a human," the child said. Her voice was high and musical. Ti-ho looked at her. She was small, maybe 6 years old in human terms. She wore a white dress that looked expensive. Her silver-blue skin was smooth and perfect. She had 2 small arms and 2 slightly longer arms, all folded in front of her. "Yes," Ti-ho said, "I am a human." "Why do you not have armor on your body?" she asked. "Your skin is so soft. Does it not hurt when things touch you?" Ti-ho almost laughed. "We do not have armor, we are just made this way." The child tilted her head. "That seems like a mistake." "Maybe," Ti-ho agreed, "but we manage." The child moved closer. She sat down on the bench next to him, keeping some distance between them. Her dark eyes studied him like he was some kind of strange animal. "My name is Nuri," she said. "I am Ti-ho." "Ti-ho," she repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "That is a strange name." "It is a normal name where I come from." Nuri seemed to think about this. Then she pointed at the window. "What is that bright star?" Ti-ho looked. "That is not a star, that is a planet, we call it Earth. That is where humans come from." "You came from there?" "Yes, a long time ago." Nuri was quiet for a moment. Then she asked more questions. She wanted to know about Earth. She wanted to know about water that covered the ground. She wanted to know about animals with fur. She wanted to know about something called rain. Ti-ho answered every question. He spoke slowly and clearly. He described the oceans and the forests. He told her about dogs and cats. He explained how rain fell from the sky and made everything wet. Nuri listened with her mouth slightly open. No one had ever told her such things before. "I want to see rain," she said finally. "Can you show me?" Ti-ho smiled sadly. "There is no rain on this station, only on planets." "Then I will go to a planet someday," Nuri decided, "and I will stand in the rain." A voice called out from somewhere behind them. It was sharp and worried. Someone was looking for the child. Nuri jumped up quickly. I must go, my tutors will be angry. She started to run but then stopped. She looked back at T-Ho. Can I come back tomorrow? She asked. I want to hear more about the dogs. T-Ho hesitated. He knew this was probably a bad idea. A Sithrani child should not be spending time with a human cargo worker. Her family would not approve. But her eyes were so bright and hopeful. Yes, he said, I am here every evening. Nuri smiled. It was the first time he had seen a Sithrani smile. Then she ran off into the corridor and disappeared. T-Ho sat alone again. He looked back at the stars. Something warm settled in his chest. It was a feeling he had not experienced in a long time. He was not sure what to call it. For the next several weeks, Nuri came to the observation deck every evening. She always escaped from her tutors somehow. She was clever that way. T-Ho told her stories about Earth. He described mountains that touched the clouds. He explained how humans cooked food with fire. He taught her a simple song that his mother used to sing. Nuri loved every moment. She laughed at his strange human words. She tried to copy the song but got the sounds wrong. She asked him to describe dogs again and again because she could not believe such creatures existed. They are loyal, T-Ho explained. They love their owners more than anything. They will protect you even if it means danger for themselves. That sounds foolish, Nuri said. Why would they do that? Because that is how love works, T-Ho said simply. Nuri thought about this for a long time. What T-Ho did not know was that someone else was watching these meetings. High above on the upper level, a tall Sithrani woman stood in the shadows. Her name was Velara. She was Nuri's mother. Velara was a diplomat's widow. Her husband had been an important military commander before his death. She came from one of the oldest family lines in Sithrani history. She was respected and powerful. When she first discovered that her daughter was spending time with a human, she felt anger. It was not proper. Humans were beneath them. She almost ordered the guards to keep the man away. But something stopped her. She watched the human speak to her daughter. She saw how patient he was. She noticed how Nuri laughed freely, something she rarely did at home. She observed how this simple man treated her child with genuine kindness. No one on the station treated Nuri like a normal child. They all saw her as the daughter of a great house. They bowed and spoke carefully around her. They were afraid of making mistakes. But this human just talked to her like she was any other child. Velara did not interrupt them. Night after night she watched from the shadows, and slowly her anger turned into something else, curiosity, and perhaps a small amount of respect. The human was nobody. He had nothing, yet he gave her daughter something precious. He gave her joy. The station was different today. T-Ho could feel it the moment he woke up. There were more guards in the corridors, more announcements on the speakers, more tension in the air. A political delegation was arriving. The Korath Dominion was coming to Helix 9. T-Ho knew about the Korath. Everyone did. They were a reptilian species with thick green scales and powerful bodies. They were warriors by nature. They believed strength was the only thing that mattered, and they hated the Sithrani. The hatred went back hundreds of years. There had been wars, battles, bloodshed. The Sithrani had won most of those conflicts. The Korath had never forgotten their shame. Now, in this time of supposed peace, the two species were forced to negotiate. But everyone knew the peace was thin, like ice over deep water. T-Ho was told to stay away from the main areas of the station. Workers like him were not supposed to be seen by important visitors. He did not mind. He had no desire to meet the Korath anyway. But he worried about Nuri. That evening he went to the observation deck as usual. Nuri was not there. He waited for an hour. She did not come. The next day was the same, and the day after that. T-Ho understood. With the delegation here, Nuri probably had duties to attend. Her mother was an important figure. The child would have to behave properly in front of guests. Still, he missed her. On the fourth day, Tiho heard about a public ceremony. It was happening in the Grand Hall on level 12. All the important species would be there. The Sithrani, the Korath, even some human ambassadors. Workers were not invited, but Tiho felt something strange pulling at him, a worry he could not explain. He decided to go anyway. He would stay in the back where no one would notice him. The Grand Hall was beautiful. High ceilings with lights that looked like floating stars, smooth white floors that reflected everything, hundreds of aliens in their finest clothes, colors and shapes that Tiho had never seen before. He found a spot near the entrance, behind a group of tall plants. From there, he could see most of the room. The ceremony began with speeches. A Sithrani elder spoke about peace and cooperation. A Korath general responded with words that sounded polite but felt cold. Everyone clapped at the right moments. Everyone smiled without meaning it. Tiho searched the crowd for Nuri. He found her near the center of the room. She was standing by a large fountain made of crystal. She wore a beautiful blue dress. Her mother, Velara, was far across the hall, speaking with other diplomats. Nuri looked bored. She kept looking around the room as if searching for something interesting. Tiho almost smiled. Even at a grand ceremony, she was still just a child. Then something changed. Tiho saw movement in the crowd. A figure was pushing forward, a Korath male with dark green scales and scars on his face. He was not moving like the others. He was moving with purpose, with anger. No one else seemed to notice. They were all focused on the speakers. But Tiho noticed. The Korath was heading toward the fountain, toward Nuri. Tiho's heart began to beat faster. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. Then he saw the blade. The Korath pulled a weapon from under his robes. It was a plasma blade. The edge glowed orange with deadly heat. The weapon could cut through metal, through armor, through anything. The Korath was not heading toward the speakers. He was heading toward the child. Tiho did not understand why. He did not know about the old blood feuds. He did not know that Nuri's dead father had once defeated this Korath's clan in battle. He did not know about revenge. All he knew was that a killer was running toward a little girl. Everything happened in seconds. Velara saw the Korath and screamed her daughter's name, but she was too far away. Station security saw the weapon and started running, but they were also too far away. The Korath raised his blade high. His eyes were fixed on Nuri. She was frozen in fear, her dark eyes wide with terror. And Tiho ran. He did not think about the blade. He did not think about his own safety. He did not think about anything except reaching that child before the weapon did. He crashed through the crowd. He knocked aliens aside. He ran faster than he had ever run in his life. The Korath brought the blade down. Tiho threw himself between the blade and Nuri. He wrapped his arms around her small body and turned his back to the attacker. The plasma blade cut into his shoulder and burned across his chest. Pain exploded through his body like fire. He had never felt anything like it. His skin was melting. His flesh was cooking. The smell of burning filled his nose. But he did not let go of the child. He fell to the ground, still holding Nuri beneath him. His body became a shield. If the Korath wanted to reach her, he would have to go through Tiho first. Security finally arrived. They tackled the Korath and forced him to the ground. The plasma blade fell from his hand and clattered away. The room was filled with screaming and chaos. People were running everywhere. Guards were shouting orders. But Tiho heard none of it. He was focused on the small face beneath him. Nuri was crying. Her silver-blue skin was stained with his blood, but she was alive. She was not hurt. "Nuri," he whispered. His voice was weak, speaking was hard. "Are you okay?" She could not answer. She just stared at him with tears running down her face. Footsteps approached. Someone was pushing through the crowd. Tiho looked up and saw Velara. Her face was pale with fear. Her 4 hands were shaking. She dropped to her knees beside them. She grabbed Nuri and pulled her into her arms. Then she looked at Tiho, at the horrible wound on his back, at the blood pooling on the white floor. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was breaking. "Why did you do this?" Tiho's vision was getting dark around the edges. He was losing too much blood. He was going to die. He knew this. But somehow he felt at peace. He looked at the crying child in her mother's arms. He remembered all those evenings on the observation deck, the questions about rain, the stories about dogs, the simple song. "She's just a kid," he said quietly. Then the darkness took him. Medical teams arrived moments later. They worked frantically to stop the bleeding. They put him on a floating stretcher and rushed him to the medical bay. Doctors shouted orders. Machines beeped warnings. Velara stood in the middle of the chaos, holding her daughter. Nuri was sobbing into her chest. Around them, the grand hall had become a crime scene. The Korath attacker was being dragged away in chains. Other delegates were being evacuated. But Velara could not move. She kept seeing it in her mind. The human running, the human jumping, the human catching a blade meant for her child. No one had ever done such a thing before. In her world, everyone calculated risks. Everyone thought about politics. Everyone protected themselves first. But this human had not hesitated. He had not calculated. He had simply acted. He was a cargo worker. He had nothing. He was nobody. Yet he had given everything for a child that was not his own. Velara held her daughter tighter and made a decision. If the human lived, she would not forget what he had done. If the human lived, she would repay this debt in the only way her culture allowed. She would make him family. The doctors did not expect Tiho to survive. The plasma blade had cut deep into his shoulder and burned across his chest. His skin was destroyed. His muscles were damaged. He had lost so much blood that his heart had stopped twice on the way to the medical bay. Any other species would have died within minutes. But humans were strange. The Sithrani doctors had never treated a human before. They studied him with confusion and fascination. His body was so fragile, so soft, so easily damaged. Yet somehow it refused to give up. His heart kept beating, his blood kept flowing, his cells kept fighting. "This makes no sense," one doctor said. "His wounds are fatal. His body should have shut down hours ago." "But it has not," another replied. "It keeps trying to heal." "How is that possible?" No one had an answer. For 3 days, Tiho hung between life and death. The doctors did everything they could. They closed his wounds with advanced technology. They gave him new blood created in machines. They used healing beams that could repair tissue. And slowly, impossibly, he began to recover. On the 4th day, he opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was white ceiling, then bright lights, then machines around his bed making soft sounds. He was in the medical bay. He was alive. He tried to move, but pain shot through his body. His chest felt like it was on fire. His shoulder was wrapped in thick bandages. "Do not move," a gentle voice said. Tiho turned his head carefully. Velara was sitting in a chair beside his bed. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. Her silver-blue skin was paler than usual. "You are awake," she said softly. "The doctor said you might never wake up." Tiho's throat was dry. "How long?" "4 days." He closed his eyes for a moment. 4 days. It felt like minutes. "Nuri," he whispered, "is she?" "She is unharmed." Velara's voice carried emotion. "Because of you, she does not have a single scratch. You took the entire blow." Tiho felt relief wash over him. The pain was worth it. Everything was worth it. "Good," he said. "That is good." Velara studied his face. She had visited him every day since the attack. She had watched the doctors work on his broken body. She had seen them give up hope again and again, only to be proven wrong. "Why did you do it?" she asked. T-Ho did not understand the question. "What do you mean?" "You could have died. You almost did die. You are a human, a cargo worker. My daughter is a Sithrani from a noble house. You had no reason to save her, no obligation, no benefit." Velara leaned forward. "So why?" T-Ho thought about it. The question seemed strange to him, as if there was another option, as if he could have watched a child die and done nothing. "She is a child," he said finally. "I could not let her be hurt." "But the risk to yourself." "Does not matter." Velara fell silent. She had heard stories about humans. They were supposed to be cowards, weak creatures who ran from danger, who only cared about themselves. But this man had run toward danger. He had thrown away his life for a child he had no connection to. "I do not understand your species," she admitted. T-Ho almost smiled, but it hurt too much. "Sometimes I do not understand us either." Over the next few days, T-Ho grew stronger. His wounds healed faster than the doctors predicted. They kept taking samples of his blood and studying his cells. They could not explain how he was recovering so quickly. "Human biology is impossible," one doctor complained. "Their bodies are designed to break, yet they are also designed to repair. It makes no logical sense." Velara came to visit every day. Sometimes she brought Nuri with her. The child would sit beside his bed and hold his hand carefully, afraid to hurt him. "I thought you died," Nuri said one afternoon. Her eyes were red from crying. "I saw all the blood. I thought you left me like father did." T-Ho squeezed her small hand. "I am still here. I am not going anywhere." "Promise." "Promise." Nuri smiled for the first time since the attack. 1 week later, T-Ho was allowed to leave the medical bay. He was still weak. His wounds still hurt, but he could walk again. He expected to go back to his small room in the worker section of the station. He expected to return to his normal life of loading cargo and eating alone. But Velara had other plans. "There is something you need to understand," she told him one evening. "In Sithrani culture, there is a sacred debt that forms when someone saves the life of a bloodline member." T-Ho listened carefully. "This debt can only be repaid in 2 ways," Velara continued. "The first way is that the savior becomes a servant to the family forever. They must serve without question until they die." T-Ho frowned. "That does not sound fair." "No, it does not," Velara agreed. "That is why I have chosen the second way." "What is the second way?" Velara stood up straight, her 4 hands folded in front of her in a formal position. Her dark eyes met his. "The second way is that the family claims the savior as one of their own, not as a servant, but as family, as blood." T-Ho did not understand. "What does that mean?" "It means I am going to claim you, Kang T-Ho. You will become part of my lineage. You will carry my family name. You will have all the rights and honors of a Sithrani noble house." The words hit him like a wave. "But I am human," he said slowly. "Your people do not accept humans." "That is true. Many will be angry, many will object, but the law is clear. The ritual is ancient. If I perform the rite of claiming, no one can stop it." "Why would you do this?" Velara was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. "You bled for my daughter. You almost died for her. You are not a soldier or a warrior. You are just a man. Yet you did what soldiers and warriors often fail to do. You protected the innocent without thinking of yourself." She paused. "Making you a servant would be an insult to your sacrifice. You deserve better." The rite of claiming happened 3 days later. It was held in the Grand Council chamber. Hundreds of Sithrani nobles were present. News reporters recorded everything. The entire galaxy was watching. T-Ho stood in the center of the room, still wearing bandages under his formal clothes. His wounds ached. His legs felt weak, but he stood straight. Velara approached him with Nuri at her side. She wore a beautiful white robe with gold patterns. Her movements were slow and ceremonial. She spoke the ancient words in the Sithrani language. Then she translated them for everyone to understand. His blood fell for my blood. His pain became our shield. From this day his name rests within our lineage, and our honor is his honor. She took his hand. Her skin was cool against his warmth. Kang Tiho, she said loudly, I claim you as kin. You are no longer alone. You belong to us now. The room was silent. Then Nuri ran forward and hugged him carefully. Uncle T, she whispered, you are family now. Tiho looked around at the shocked faces, at the cameras recording everything, at the woman who had just changed his entire life. He did not know what to say. He did not know what to feel. But for the first time in many years, he was not invisible. Someone had finally seen him, and they had decided he was worth keeping. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. A human claimed by a Sithrani noble house. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. Yet it had happened in front of thousands of witnesses. The recording spread across every planet within hours. And the reactions were not kind. The Sithrani were furious. In their history, spanning thousands of years, no outsider had ever been claimed into one of the great bloodlines. Now a human, a species they considered primitive and weak, had been given the same status as their most honored families. This is an insult to our ancestors, one elder declared at a council meeting. Velara has brought shame upon us all. The bloodline is tainted now, another agreed. Her family name should be removed from the records. Velara faced her accusers with calm dignity. She did not apologize. She did not back down. The ritual was performed correctly, she said. The law is clear. Kang Tiho saved my daughter's life. I had the right to claim him. I exercised that right. There is nothing more to discuss. But there was much more to discuss. The arguments continued for weeks. Meanwhile, the Korath Dominion saw an opportunity. They began spreading stories across the galaxy. They called Tiho a human spy. They said the whole attack had been staged to embarrass the Korath people. They demanded punishment. Their propaganda was effective. Many species who knew nothing about the truth started to believe the lies. Human ambassadors were caught in the middle. Some thought the claiming was an honor for humanity. Others feared it was a political trap that would cause problems later. They did not know how to respond. And in the center of all this chaos was Tiho himself. He had been moved from his tiny worker room to a large suite in the noble section of the station. His cargo worker uniform had been replaced with fine clothes. Servants came to bring him food. Guards stood outside his door. It was overwhelming. Tiho did not know how to act like a noble. He did not know the proper ways to bow. He did not understand the complex social rules. He made mistakes constantly. At his first formal dinner, he used the wrong utensil for his food. The other guests stared at him with disgust. Some laughed behind their hands. The human does not even know how to eat properly, one noble whispered loudly. What a joke! Tiho's face burned with shame, but he kept eating. He did not run away. Velara sat beside him and pretended nothing was wrong. Later that night, she taught him which utensil to use for each dish. She was patient. She did not make him feel stupid. You will learn, she told him. It takes time. Maybe this was a mistake, Tiho said quietly. I do not belong in your world. Velara looked at him seriously. You saved my daughter. You belong wherever you choose to be. The days passed slowly. Tiho attended ceremonies and meetings he did not understand. He stood in the background while Velara dealt with the political storms. He tried his best to learn everything quickly. But the hardest part was watching what happened to Nuri. The other Sithrani children had turned against her. They called her family human lovers and blood traitors. They refused to play with her. Some even pushed her in the corridors when adults were not watching. Nuri tried to hide her pain. She smiled when her mother was around. But Tiho saw the truth. He saw the sadness in her eyes. He saw the bruises on her arms. It made his blood boil. One afternoon, Tiho was walking through the station when he heard children's voices ahead. They were mean voices, mocking voices. He turned the corner and found Nuri surrounded by 4 Korath youths. They were larger than her. Their green scales made them look even more threatening. "Your family is a disgrace," one of them said. "You let a weak human into your blood." "The human could not even survive one hit from a blade," another laughed. "My father says humans are like insects, easy to crush." Nuri's eyes were wet with tears, but she stood straight. "Tiho is brave. He is braver than any of you." The largest Korath stepped closer. "Maybe we should test that. Maybe we should see how brave a Sithrani child is when she does not have her human pet to protect her." Tiho moved without thinking. He walked through the group and stood between Nuri and the Korath youths. His heart was beating fast, but his face was calm. "That is enough," he said quietly. The Korath looked at him with surprise that quickly turned to amusement. "Look, the human pet has arrived." "I am not a pet, and you will not touch this child." The largest Korath stepped forward. He was nearly twice Tiho's size. His claws looked sharp enough to cut steel. "And who will stop us? You," he laughed. "You are soft and weak. One hit and you would die." Tiho did not move. "You are right, I am soft. I am weak by your standards, but I caught a plasma blade for this child and I am still standing. I died twice on the medical table and I came back." His voice grew hard. "So if you want to hurt her, you will have to go through me first, and I promise you I do not stay down easy." The corridor went silent. The Korath youths looked at each other uncertainly. They had heard the stories. Everyone had heard the stories. The human who took a killing blow and lived. The human who refused to die. Looking at him now, standing there so calmly, they felt something unexpected. "Fear." "Let us go," the largest one muttered. "This is a waste of time." They walked away without looking back. When they were gone, Tiho turned to Nuri. She threw herself into his arms and cried. "They are so mean," she sobbed. "Why are they so mean?" Tiho held her gently. "Because they are scared. Because we are different and that makes them uncomfortable. But being different is not bad, Nuri. Being different just means we see the universe in our own way." "I wish you were always with me," she said. "Then I would never be scared." "I am always with you," Tiho promised. "Even when I am not there, I am thinking about you. You are my family now. Families protect each other." From that day forward, something changed in the station. News of the confrontation spread quickly. The story grew larger with each telling. Some said Tiho had threatened the Korath with violence. Others said he had shown supernatural calm in the face of death. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. People started looking at Tiho differently, not with disgust or amusement, but with something that looked almost like respect. A human had stood against the Korath without backing down. A human had protected his family without violence. A human had shown courage that many aliens could only pretend to have. Maybe the galaxy had underestimated humanity after all. Velara heard about what happened. That evening, she found Tiho in his room and sat beside him. "You did not have to do that," she said. "You could have called for guards." "There was no time," Tiho replied, "and Nuri needed help immediately." Velara studied his face. This man continued to surprise her. Every time she thought she understood him, he did something unexpected. "You are a strange creature, Kang Tiho," she said softly. "Is that a bad thing?" For the first time in a long while, Velara smiled. "No," she said, "I do not think it is." Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding, a connection, something neither of them was ready to name yet. But it was there. And it was growing. 1 year had passed since the claiming ceremony. T-Ho stood in front of the mirror in his room and studied his reflection. He looked different now. His clothes were elegant. His posture was straight. He had learned to walk with confidence instead of trying to disappear. But inside, he was still the same man who had loaded cargo in the lower decks. He still missed the simplicity of that life sometimes. No politics, no ceremonies, no eyes watching his every move. Yet he would not trade his new life for anything. Because now he had a family. Nuri burst into his room without knocking. She was taller now, nearly reaching his shoulder. Her silver-blue skin glowed with health. Her smile was bright and genuine. "Uncle T, Mother says we are going to the summit today. Will you teach me more about dogs on the way?" T-Ho laughed. After a year, she still wanted to hear about dogs. Her fascination with Earth animals had not faded. "I have told you everything I know," he said. "Maybe we should find new topics." "No," Nuri said firmly. "Tell me about the dogs again. Tell me about how they wait for their owners to come home." T-Ho could not say no to her. He never could. The Galactic Union Summit was being held on Helix 9 this year. Representatives from every major species had gathered to discuss trade, security, and cooperation. The station was crowded with diplomats and their guards. Velara was expected to attend as the head of her house, and now so was T-Ho. He walked beside her through the polished corridors. Nuri held his hand on one side. Velara walked on the other. Guards followed behind them at a respectful distance. Aliens stared as they passed, some with curiosity, some with disgust. But T-Ho had grown used to the stares. He kept his head high and his face calm. The summit hall was enormous. Thousands of seats arranged in a great circle. Holographic displays showing data and speeches. The noise of dozens of languages mixing together. T-Ho sat with Velara and Nuri in the Sithrani section. Other nobles greeted Velara with polite words but cold eyes. The old wounds from the claiming had not fully healed. The speeches went on for hours. T-Ho tried to pay attention, but much of it was boring political talk. He noticed that Nuri had fallen asleep against his shoulder. He smiled and let her rest. During a break, Velara left to speak with other diplomats. T-Ho stayed behind to watch Nuri. That was when the Korath found him. A tall Korath male approached with slow, deliberate steps. His scales were dark gray, almost black. His eyes were cold like stones. He wore the uniform of a high-ranking diplomat. "So you are the famous human," he said. His voice dripped with contempt. "The pet that the Sithrani woman claimed." T-Ho recognized the insult but did not react. "I am Kang T-Ho. Is there something you need?" The Korath laughed quietly. "I wanted to see you with my own eyes, the creature that has caused so much trouble." He leaned closer. "You know this arrangement cannot last forever. One day her protection will fail, and when it does, we will show the galaxy what happens to species that forget their place." "Is that a threat?" "It is a promise." The Korath's eyes moved to sleeping Nuri. "Such a fragile child. It would be a shame if something happened to her while you were not watching." T-Ho felt ice run through his veins. He stood up slowly, carefully placing Nuri's head on the seat so she would not wake. Then he turned to face the Korath. He was smaller, weaker. He had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons of any kind. But something in his eyes made the Korath take a half step back. "I heard you," T-Ho said quietly. His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You just threatened my family, my niece, the child I almost died for. And what will you do about it, human?" T-Ho moved closer. He was now standing directly in front of the Korath, looking up at the much larger creature without a trace of fear. "Let me explain something about my species," he said slowly. "We are soft, we are weak, we break easily. You are right about all of that, but there is something you do not understand." His voice grew harder. When someone threatens our family, we stop caring about ourselves. We stop thinking about pain or death or consequences. We become something different. The Korath said nothing. Your blade almost killed me, Tiho continued. I felt my heart stop. I saw darkness closing in and I came back, because that child needed me. He paused. So yes, threaten me all you want, but if you touch that child, I will show you exactly how dangerous a soft and weak human can be when he has nothing left to lose. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then the Korath turned and walked away without another word. Tiho watched him go. His hands were shaking, his heart was pounding, but he did not let any of it show on his face. He sat back down beside Nuri. She was still sleeping peacefully, unaware of what had just happened. Velara returned a few minutes later. She noticed immediately that something was wrong. What happened? She asked. Tiho hesitated, then he told her everything. Velara listened in silence. When he finished, her expression was unreadable. You stood against a Korath diplomat, she said. That was dangerous. He threatened Nuri. What was I supposed to do? Velara looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and took his hand. Thank you, she said softly. Thank you for being who you are. Tiho felt warmth spread through his chest. Her hand was cool and smooth. Holding it felt right somehow. Why do you keep protecting us? Velara asked. After everything you have been through, all the pain, all the judgment, all the enemies you have made, why do you stay? Tiho thought about the question. He thought about his old life of loneliness, his empty room, his silent meals, the years of being invisible. Then he thought about Nuri's smile, Velara's gentle teachings, the feeling of belonging to something larger than himself. Because that is what humans do, he said finally. We protect what is ours, and you made me yours. He paused. You saw me when no one else did. You gave me a home when I had nothing. How could I ever walk away from that? Velara's dark eyes shimmered with emotion. I claimed you because you saved my daughter, she said quietly. But I am grateful for you because of who you have become to us. You are not just a debt repaid, Tiho. You are, she struggled to find the words. You are part of my heart now. Nuri stirred between them, slowly waking up. She looked at her mother holding Tiho's hand and smiled sleepily. Are we going home? She asked. Yes, Velara said. We are going home. That evening the three of them sat together on the observation deck. The same spot where Tiho and Nuri had first met. The same bench. The same view of endless stars. Nuri fell asleep against his side, as she always did. Velara sat close beside him, her shoulder touching his. Look, Tiho said softly. He pointed at a bright spot in the distance. That is Earth. Velara looked. It seems very far away. It is, but that is okay, he smiled. Home is not always a place, sometimes it is people. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars together. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was still full of danger. The Korath still hated them. Other species still judged them. The road ahead would not be easy. But for the first time in his life, Tiho was not afraid. He had something worth fighting for now. He had a daughter who called him uncle, a woman who had claimed him as kin, a family that had chosen him when no one else would. And he would protect them until his last breath. Because that was who he was. That was what it meant to be human. They were small, they were fragile, they bled easily and died young. But they loved fiercely. They fought for their families without counting the cost. They got back up no matter how many times they fell. And in a galaxy full of ancient and powerful species, that made them something special. That made them terrifying. That made them worthy. Tiho closed his eyes and listened to Nuri's soft breathing. He felt Velara's warmth beside him. He let himself relax for the first time in what felt like forever. He was home, and nothing in the universe could take that away from him.